Welcome everybody to Event Tech Live USA and Canada 2021 and to the Omni stage on day 2 and to our first session. Apologies for those of you tuning in. We are a couple of minutes late setting off with this, but I'm delighted to say now that our first guest on the Omni stage is ready to join us. Josh Hotzenpiller is the CEO at Juno. Josh, it's great to have you on board with Event Tech Live. Hello.
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, good morning to you. Good afternoon here. Good evening somewhere else in the world. I know that there's people tuning in from right across North America and further afield as well. Josh, I know that we're a few minutes late starting, so I'm going to hand straight over to you to kick off your session, and I'll see you a little bit later on with some questions.
All righty, great. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We are excited to talk about this new season of life that we're all in. And we are talking about intersections of connectivity. At the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, at the middle of the day, every single thing is about human connection. Whether it's with our partners or our kids or our families or our colleagues, connecting with people is what makes the world work. So the real question is, how do we create these intersections of connectivity? We all know that 2020 ushered in this whole new world of digital transformation. And what seemed to shut everything down really begin to open everything up. One of the things we talk about at Juno all the time is removing boundaries. All these boundaries exist in our life. They exist with land and water. They exist emotionally too. Sometimes we define boundaries, we put boundaries on. And so Juno is in the mission of removing boundaries for people. That's what we're all about. And my story has always been about removing boundaries. I'm the founder of multiple community platforms, from Wisdom Capture, that's a storytelling brand, to CrowdHub, which is a custom software agency that builds community platforms. And when the pandemic hit, all of our customers began to ask us, we love our community platform, but can you add virtual to it? Because we don't need another platform. We don't need another spend. But what we do need is the ability to connect community with virtual. And that's what brought Juno on. And that's why industry leaders began to choose Juno. Because, I think we skipped the slide. Maybe not. But industry leaders began to look at Juno and say, is there a way to bring deeper human connection to people? And we knew that there was. So what is it that makes connection work? How does this work? Intersections happen when virtual people and in-person people can actually connect. That's an intersection of connectivity that we talk about. And for the rest of our lives, this is going to be part of our life. For example, we're connecting right now through story and through energy and through ideas, but we're not together physically. Yet as the world moves forward and physical comes together and virtual comes together, these intersections will happen. So here's the real question we have to think about. How do we identify and create intersections of connectivity? How do we sustain them? And how do we monetize them? Because if we're going to go this way in the world, and all of our data that you guys have seen the last few days and we're talking about, is that people know that hybrid and intersections of connectivities we talk about is the way that the world's going to go. So how do you identify them? How do you sustain them? And how do you monetize them? Look, we know how to identify them, right? We kind of talk about this. If you ever lost your keys, you ever had one of those, lost your wallet? And people always ask this silly question, where'd you lose it? And you're like, I don't know. If I knew, I'd go get it. But then they say this, retrace your steps. Retrace your steps. See, everywhere that we connect physically, we can think about connecting digitally. We connect at main stages, right? Like when we sit there and go, is anybody sitting here? We connect at coffee breaks. I don't think we've met. Trade shows, networking, restaurants, lobbies, all these places is where we connect. But the reality is, using technology, people can connect that way. Let me give you an example. Think about dating apps, and I'm too old to have ever used them, but a lot of my employees tell me about them. And you can be in a physical bar and literally virtually connect with somebody in there and then go meet them. It's amazing to understand that virtual tools allow us to do some really powerful things. They allow us to know who's where, what their interests are, and even profile them a bit and see if it's a fit. And as Juno moves into the hybrid world, our vision is just that. We imagine and we're creating a world where you can literally see where people are. Are they physically? Are they digitally there? Who are they? And are we a fit? So all these places we're imagining, whether you're physical or digital, you can be connecting. We like to say this from the bedroom or the bathroom or anywhere to the ballroom. It doesn't matter. Boundaries or hybrid is boundaryless. I can be sitting right here in my house and my two little boys are right inside there and they're getting ready for school. Yet I'm connecting with you all around the world. And when we begin to realize the power of there's no boundary between me and my family anymore. And there's no boundary between me and you anymore. And you can get to know me while I'm still connected there. This is this powerful world that's emerging for us. And while we love physical, we know physical is never going to go away. But there's times and there's opportunities for greater connection. Our head of partnerships, Peter, always talks about how there's peaks of conferences where we all connect, and then there's valleys in between them where we're separate. And we know that in the world that we're walking into, we're going to have a world of constant peaks, always peak. I can peak physically, but I can also use digital and remote tools to peak around in between those times. So we talk about bridges, network bridges. So at the end of the day, here's our goal. We want to get people from here to there. We want to make sure that they're not disconnected, but yet they're connected. So how do we do that? We think about network bridges in three ways. Virtual, we want to make sure that when you can't get together physically, that we're removing the boundaries and that you're connecting. We want to make sure that when you're in person, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever been at a big conference, maybe, I don't know, let's even say a few thousand people. Have you ever thought and wondered how many people are in this place that would have been a perfect fit for me to meet, but I never got to meet them because I didn't know them or our paths didn't cross? Or maybe have you ever looked at somebody and thought, we'll have nothing in common? Yet maybe you have so much in common. And so when you're in person, we want to use digital tools to create bridges for you to connect. And then of course, the beautiful world of cross-channel. If I'm in San Diego, that's where I'm at right now, and you're in Boston, and we should connect. We want to make sure that you can. So our vision is to look at these bridges and go, whether it's full virtual, whether it's in person, whether it's cross-channel and hybrid, we're going to make sure that you have the ability to connect using smart tools. All right, how do we do that? There's a little delay on our screen share here, guys. I'm not sure. There it is. Okay, so think about network density. This is a fun little exercise we'll do. Network density can often start where it's one-to-one, it's sparse, right? Think PayPal or you're paying somebody money. Then you go a little bit further into a low density network. Think Spotify, where you can build a playlist and people can see your playlist and follow it. And then think about high density network. Think about LinkedIn, where you should know this person and you're connected to this person. And because this person knows this person, you should know this person. And that's the world that we're moving into. See, pre-COVID, we were kind of a low density world. We'd show up to conferences and kind of maybe we would have a one-to-one connection. As we got into COVID, the season we're in right now, we're starting to build smarter tools where AI engines and machine learning can begin to say, hey, you know what? These are people, things, experiences, content that you should know. But as we move forward even more, we're going to create high density networks. These are networks where you can begin to know people more. Now, how do we do that? There's a really fun slide I want to talk to you about. We've created an IP model that we call human interest modeling. Look at the beginning and middle of the day. Everything's about connecting. And so every platform and every moment starts with a user identity, right? This is who we are as people. Oh, went back that slide. This is who we are as people. But then we go through human interest modeling. This is what Juno does. It starts with what we declare. I'm going to declare what I know I'm interested in. We all can do that, right? If I asked you right now, what are your hobbies, or what's your favorite movie, or what do you like to do? If you got a few extra minutes, you can go, I know what that is. You can declare it. But using gamification and AI, we can push things to you that you can begin to discover, wow, I didn't even know I was interested in that until I noticed. And so now I'm discovering new interest. Then what we can do is we can drive you into our flywheel of content, people, and experiences. We can begin to say, you've declared what you're interested in, you've discovered new things, and now we're driving you into the things that you're interested in. And when we do that, we can get a profile on you. You can get a profile on you that says, guess what, Jim, Nancy, Sue, whoever, these things that you've declared, discovered, and the content, experiences, and people, We know that there's other people just like you, people that have interests like you do, people that want to learn things that you want to learn. All of that process we can begin to get and then ultimately connect you to more people like you and create network effect. That's the power of digital. And so whether you're physical, whether you're remote and hybrid, it doesn't matter, because we can use these tools to help you find people like you. Digital transformation is here, and we want to be a part of it with you. It's here, it's now, and it's exciting. So get to know us. We've got a Spotify playlist that you can come listen to as well. These are kind of music that we love. And here's a little bit about me you can follow me on LinkedIn. But what we want to do is we want to work with leaders and innovators to say this: there's nothing more important than connecting people to one another and educating them. There's nothing more important than connecting people and educating them. And we are on a mission to make sure that we build the smartest, most human-centric tools that your members, that your attendees look back and go, every single time that I engage with you, the platform gets smarter, it knows me more, it serves me better. I'll give you a little analogy that we like to talk about. I'm not sure what kind of music player you listen to. I listen to Spotify. And every Friday afternoon, Spotify sends me a note that says, we have your Friday playlist ready. They know every Friday, this is the type of music I listen to wind down and relax after a long week. The more I use Spotify, the greater utility or value I get from Spotify. Juno is on a mission to build a platform that the more your attendees or members use it, the smarter it gets and the greater value it gives them. So that's our mission. That's what we're on, creating intersections of connectivity, whether you're virtual, physical, or that hybrid world. We're going to use it using human interest modeling with your declared, discovered, and driving you into more things. And we're going to connect you to people, content, and experiences that make your life better. That's the mission that we're on. Okay, that's my talk. Happy to take questions and spend a little bit more time with you.
Hey, Josh, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Really well put together slides. And I think that's very relevant to the question that's just popped in. Actually, we've got a few questions that have come in on the Glisser Q&A during that session. So I'll come to the first one that's just popped in. I liked the graphic on slide 9. And I think, if I'm right, that was the one with the sort of the lines and the connections between different elements of an event.
Yep.
So if we go back to that question, yeah.
So what was the question?
Do you think companies can get bogged down in written work and reports when a simple diagram could be more productive? Sometimes I think stepping back and visualizing something in this sense can be a lot better than looking at statistics and analytics.
You know, I'm a visual learner. I think there's an old saying, to really know something isn't to do it, but to teach it. And I think what we really got to get to the place is if we can take something that's very complex and make it simple and digestible, two things happen. Number one, we can really ensure that we know what we're talking about. And number two, we can transfer knowledge to other people. So I think the more, especially when we get into this new world, the more we can take complex issues, visualize them so that we can transfer that information, the greater traction we're going to get.
Let's come to another comment. As a human connection expert, what do you think about this trend to 365 digital engagement for association and brands too? Will it really happen?
I think it will. I mean, I think that we've already passed into where it happened. It's happening. People are connecting. Here's what's interesting. People have deep desires to connect and be educated. And they don't want to just do it 3 times a year, 3 days a year, 5 days a year. I mean, our model is to really drive connection at these, again, like our friend Peter talks about, these peak moments. The reality is people want to connect all the time. I mean, do people only use dating and apps and LinkedIn and Facebook? Do they only use it 3 days a year, or do they use it every day? So the reality is we already know that people deeply desire to connect every day. We just got to deliver the tools and the ecosystem for them to do it.
Do you think, I'm going to ask this question as well a little bit later on the main stage, because we've got a panel that are talking about 365 engagement. Do you think that because of the nature of what virtual events are and how they're delivered, that 365 engagement could blur the lines between what the actual event is and what is sort of additional engagement around that event. Is there a danger that we'll lose sight of events as, individual entities?
I mean, it's like anything. Life. What's the old saying? Evolve or die. And I think that physical events have to evolve and not be guarded and not live in an or world, but live in an and world. Every single person or thing that I've ever met that said that lived with scarcity and said either or shrunk and went away. Everything that I've seen that has had an and world has expanded. So I think we have to live in a world that's an and that's where I think we're coming out with a really cool companion app this fall. And if you're physical, the only thing it's going to do is enhance your ability to know who's there, how to connect with them, gamify in cohorts and groups. So it's going to just make the experience better, not diminished. So I think you have to live in an and world.
I guess that ties in with again something else that I noticed in the slides that you had about intersections, crossing points between virtual and live. If you're looking at and rather than or, at the moment a lot of people have been talking about virtual or live. Which one do we deliver? When can we get back to one or the other? I suppose if you take what you've just said about living in an and world, you're looking at virtual and live and where they intersect.
I just think, look, at the end of the day, the goal is to connect more people and educate more people. And the more resources and tools and intelligence you can use to do that, you're going to win. And so, look, at the end of the day, if I show up to a physical event and the most likely person for me to connect with is not able to make it for whatever reason, but I've got the tools to connect with them, how's that a loss for the member? For the attendee? How's that a bad deal that I showed up somewhere in Chicago and somebody in Omaha was the perfect connection for me and they couldn't come and now you were able to make it for me? I don't see how that was a loss.
Absolutely, and I guess this is the major winner in virtual events in the last 12 months is that we've realized is that somebody was speaking yesterday and they are a not-for-profit charitable organization, and when they host live events they can struggle sometimes to attract really high-end keynote speakers. Just it's cost prohibitive. They can't afford the travel and the hotel expenditure and things like that. Now, because they've gone to virtual events, they can actually bring in a guest from the US and they're based in the UK. It's actually that there's a flip side to this where suddenly people can widen the net and actually expand the content of their events.
Well, like we talked about, removing boundaries. And I think that, look, change is scary for all of us. There's no one on the planet, unless you're kind of not all there, that doesn't get scared by change, that doesn't get scared by the unknown. But when you look at it and you go, the point you just made, when we can remove boundaries, we can expand our impact. When we can remove boundaries, we can expand our impact. And that's the type of mindset we need to have.
Absolutely. Time for one final question, Josh, that's coming on Glissa. Doesn't say who this person is, but just how does that actually work, connecting people across in-person and virtual? I guess somebody looking for a real sort of, simple layman's term, how you would do that.
So what we're coming out with this fall is our companion app. And imagine this. I'm walking physically through an event and I look down on my phone and it says, Josh, you've got 19 people that our system says you should be connecting with based on what you declared your interests were, based on what you've been discovering as you've been engaging more with, either the physical or the virtual. And I click on it and it says, okay, this person here is somebody I should connect with. And I'm in Chicago at the event and it says, oh my gosh, they're in Seattle, virtually tuning in. I can click on their profile. I can read about them. They can also share a video about themselves and I can literally click connect. And using Juno, you can stream just like you would on a Google Hangout or anything else. And we can virtually connect. It goes, hey, Tina, my name's Josh. I'm in Chicago at the event. Says we should connect. We start streaming and talking and go, it said we should connect because we're both interested in business growth. And now we're doing it. So I'm sitting at the event, maybe across the street, or maybe I'm sitting in the lobby, wherever it might be. And I'm literally texting or videoing somebody anywhere in the world because the Juno told me we should connect. That's the practical way that it happens.
Absolutely. Josh, we've come to the end of time on today's session, but I just want to thank you for your participation in Event Tech Live, for a great presentation. Obviously, if you're watching this session, you can use the Event Tech Live digital platform to engage with Josh and take this conversation to the next level if you choose to do so. Josh Hotson-Piller, CEO at Juno, thanks very much for joining Event Tech Live, and we'll see you all very soon.
Have a great day. Be well. Thank you.